Welcome everyone to the Wednesday Grind. Today we're diving into the hottest spring trends that you want to jump on right now for your Etsy shops, as well as diving into hidden or overlooked features, as well as new features with the EverBee Chrome extension, which is a tool for Etsy sellers. And with me, I have the lovely Leslie. Welcome, Leslie.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So Leslie is a seasoned online seller. She's gotten into affiliate marketing, as well as UGC and social media management, as well as being an Etsy seller. And she is here to go over with us some of those EverBee features because she is the head content creator for EverBee. Leslie, tell us a little bit about yourself and your work with EverBee.
Yeah, totally. So I actually, obviously you and I had a conversation a couple weeks ago on the EverBee podcast or YouTube channel, I guess. But I actually have just been in the freelancing space since January of 2021. And I'm a freelance content creator. So I basically work with a bunch of different brands across the world, just kind of like helping out with their marketing plans, social media strategy, stuff like that. And I actually kind of started in this industry like as an influencer on TikTok, actually. And then I realized very quickly within like 6 months that is not what I wanted to do. Like I actually really just like the education piece of it and being able to basically take the 13 years of knowledge that I have and try to like gift it to others. So I was working with EverBee in very, very small capacity, just kind of doing some like influencer kind of stuff with them on TikTok back in the day, like 2 or 3 years ago. And then I just decided to reach out to them because Cody, who's the CEO and founder of EverBee, he was very interested in, again, going back to the education piece, he was interested in expanding the educational sector for his business as well. So that's actually how we got connected more on like a personal level, because I thought that that would be a really good piece for me to fit in because I was kind of in this journey on my own, realizing that I didn't really want to like create the content. I more so wanted like to create the content that was going to help somebody else make money rather than like creating content for me to make money, if that makes sense. Sure. So I thought it was a really good opportunity. And I reached out to them in December of 2023, and I've actually been their content creator and community manager for their Facebook group and their YouTube since February of 2024. So it's been a little over a year now.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, thanks for filling us in there and telling us a little bit more about yourself. Really quickly, I'm going to show my presentation here. For those of you who are joining live, throw a bee emoji below to say hello. Let us know where you're tuning in from. We're excited that you're here. And here's our agenda. We're going to be diving into a little bit more about Leslie's background, if there's anything additional she wants to share, as well as those hidden or overlooked EverBee features, and then the spring trends, some hot spring trends that we've noticed that's on our radar that should be on your radar as well. And then of course, our signature Spill the Beans segment, one of my favorite parts. So make sure you stick around for that.
Love it.
So is there anything else, Leslie, you would like to share about your journey with e-commerce and how you started selling online?
Yeah. So if I'm not mistaken, I don't want to say this wrong, but I think e-commerce stands for like electronic commerce, or just it's like, being online, Sure. So I think a lot of people assume that e-commerce in itself is the selling of like physical or digital products. So like a transaction from one person to another as it relates to products. So I actually started in the Etsy handmade space. But I've been like a serial pretty much entrepreneur since I started. Like I always call myself like a serial side hustler, because even when I was in college, I was like working at the local newspaper. And then I think I told you it was a freaking joke looking back on it, but I was like in a fashion blog and stuff. And like, I got no fashion sense whatsoever. I wear like a crew neck like every day.
It was a good experience.
Yeah, right. So it was exactly. It was like testing the waters on like so many different things. And when I tell you I have tried everything, I literally mean it, from blogging to social media management to Etsy to digital products to physical products to handmade products, all the above. But I really found my flow in 2017. From 2017 to 2021, me and my husband decided to open a handmade home decor business together. And we did that like not brick and mortar necessarily, but like in the trade show aspect where like you take things to a location, right? So we did a lot of those kind of festivals and stuff. And then I found out obviously that you can sell them on Etsy. So I was like, game over, take me online. Happy to do that. But then we found that, we both were working full-time jobs, 9 to 5, 9 to 7 sometimes, because I was a director of marketing. And that he also, my husband, is a mail carrier in Michigan. So the weather is just miserable up here for like 7 months out of the year. So then he was also working back then until like 8 p.m. at night. And then we had like 3 or 4 orders to do at night. So it was just very, very hectic as it relates to the physicality of it. So then I started looking more into around like 2020. Obviously, I'm sure all of us did around 2020. But I started looking into like, what else could I do online, knowing all the skills that I currently have and the skills that I've spent, 13 years building up until that point. So then I learned about freelancing, which is kind of what I do now. And I've been doing that full time since April of 2022. But I just like to kind of share that story because a lot of people know me as a content creator, which is 100% what I am now, or a consultant or someone that like, again, wants to give that education piece. But I really did, I did Etsy for, I want to say 7 years, which is kind of crazy to look back and say that now. So yeah, so now we're in 2025, almost 10 years of Etsy-fying my life. So it really did, I want to say start there, if you will.
Yeah, so many people I know started out in the handmade space on Etsy and then transitioned to digital, or not dropshipping, but print on demand, because of that inability to scale, and that grind of especially if you're trying. Most of the time when you have a side hustle, you're working your 9 to 5, you have a family, depending on your situation. Like myself, when I started with selling online, I already had a family, and was working my 9 to 5. And so to try and scale a physical business, you can do it. But it's a whole nother game because you have to print or make the item and then ship it and then do all the other pieces. And so it's really hard to scale.
Yeah. It's hard to scale, especially if you don't have a team. So it was literally me and my husband. So yeah.
Yes, and most people I know pretty much any business online on Etsy or any platform, if they're scaled and they're a 6-figure business, they have a team. 100%. They have employees, they have a warehouse. Right. It's a whole nother game. Yeah. Which I respect, I really do.
Oh, absolutely.
But there's a huge time piece there. Yeah. And just the difficulty of scaling that. All right, so now we're going to jump right into EverBee. Okay, so what is EverBee? Explain to someone who maybe has never heard of it.
Yeah, totally. All right. So EverBee is, in my opinion, and I'm not just saying that because I'm wearing the shirt, but truly, in my opinion, since I started working with them, not in a partnership capacity, but I've actually been using EverBee since like 2020. So truly, it has been the most innovative and the most like robust Etsy research tool that I have personally used. It's very, very user-friendly. It's very intuitive. So when I didn't know anything about the EverBee team and I just found out about this thing on TikTok, like one of my girlfriends that's in the Etsy space, that was an Etsy content creator at the time, she just started talking about this. I got into it and I was like, okay, yeah, this makes so much sense. So personally, I think that's one of the reasons why it's best for Etsy sellers. But then on the other side, what I really, really love is we're kind of transitioning a tiny bit where Cody from EverBee, he is the CEO and founder. I mentioned him a little while ago. And he just has this like beautifully innovative brain of being able to just like stay on top of things, to say the least, and like really find gaps in his own products, which is beautiful because not a lot of people do that. Like we're very, like when we make a product, even if it's a design for an Etsy shirt, we're like, it's the best. And, we're like not really great at like tweaking things if we get feedback, but he takes feedback, whatever it is, and then makes an even better product within like record timing. It's actually beautiful to watch from this end, being a consumer and a part of the team now. So something that I really, really love that he has kind of taken the initiative to do is we are actually trying to help anybody build an online business. So we really started as in my opinion, the most robust and user-friendly Etsy research tool. But now we've gotten into email marketing, and you don't have to have an Etsy store to do that. You could just obviously send emails. Like I send emails all the time, completely unrelated to Etsy, but it still obviously makes you sales. And then we're also getting into the creator economy space a little bit. So something that he just recently came up with last quarter, in quarter 4 of 2024, was every human is a creator, and every creator deserves to own a business. And I just love that tagline now because it's like it could literally be applied to anybody. So, you mentioned a second ago, I think it was an accident, but like drop shippers. Like they are humans that are creators that are making money online. And then we have like our bloggers, our social media managers, our Shopify sellers, our Etsy sellers, our angels of the world who are making, you know, money potentially, or even just making impact on YouTube. You know, so it's like we're really just trying to show that like EverBee is going to be a one-stop shop for anybody who wants to build an online business. And we have some pretty freaking cool things coming in the pipeline over the next 2 to 3 months that I'm excited to hopefully announce when we get there soon.
Woo! Yeah, it really is an incredible software, and Cody is an incredible entrepreneur. If you haven't listened to his Built Online podcast, highly recommend, you guys. It is so good. Whether you're an Etsy seller, you just want to make money online, you just want to expand your brain. Yeah. They have all types of guests and really successful people who've come from all walks of life. A lot of Etsy sellers, but also Amazon, and they come from all different backgrounds. Highly recommend that podcast. All right, so let's jump into new features of EverBee. Yeah. Feel free to share your screen if you'd like. What are some of the new features coming that you're really excited about?
Totally. So there's a couple things obviously that we can't talk about quite yet, but obviously, hopefully you'll be one of the first to know once we do. But what I will say is we did just recently launch some things. I want to say, oh, sorry, my chair is so squeaky. I want to say it was November of 2024. So right in that Q4 space, October, November or sometime. So people who had used EverBee before that obviously had the Etsy seller Chrome extension. You obviously had access to product analytics, keyword research tool, etc. But there are just a couple of things that have been basically, like I said a second ago, as it relates to like Cody's brain, being able to be like, this is something that the people wanted and let's give it to them and let's like make it even better than like they probably imagined. So 2 really big things that are new that I'm obsessed with are this guy right here. So something that's really cool is like when you used to type something in. So let's just say, I'm just going to type something. I'm just going to type leopard again. There we go. All right. So actually I haven't been on this screen in a long time actually. So I'm going to have to refresh it real fast just to make sure it comes through. So when you had the EverBee Chrome extension before, you would have these little like worker bees get to work. For some reason, my thing's not working right now, but you would have these little things right here on the right-hand side that would basically tell us how much search was actually taking place in that. So I'm going to open another thing because it's not happy with me right now. Let's see. Come on, buddy, you can do it. There we go. Well, of course, now that I press refresh, it worked. So those are what I was alluding to a second ago. So if anybody has ever utilized EverBee in the past, they are used to these kinds of things. So you can type something in, and then you can actually see like how many times on average that particular long tail key phrase or that keyword has actually been searched on Etsy. So if you don't have the EverBee Chrome extension, you can still see these things. You just won't have the little bees next to it. So you'll see the auto-populated list, but then these just kind of allow me to further kind of dive into my research a little bit. So like I see leopard shirt is probably a place that I want to play with. And then maybe leopard SVG. But maybe the other ones I want to kind of leave behind unless I need something else to look at in the future. So this is something that's always been there. But when we type something in up here, so let's just say I did this, but I didn't do it on this page. We also now have these guys. So something that's really helpful is when you type something in. So let's just say I typed in mama shirt or whatever before the interface was updated. It was basically we'd have to like kind of scroll through these, or we needed to come over here to our Chrome extension and go to product analytics and then filter out by whatever we decided. But now it's basically just like we hover over them. They're all there now. Again, you have to have the Chrome extension connected to your Etsy store, but it's just all of these little things make it so much easier on the bottom. It's basically a high level overview of really important metrics for each of the individual listings. So when I see this, for example, I'm like, oh, that one's doing really well, but it's 38 months old. But then I look at this one and I'm like, man, that's getting a lot of views, not as many sales as I'm happy with, but it's also only 4 months old. So maybe there's something that I can do to go into this like size guide, for example, and figure out like, is there a gap that I can fill with my product? Or maybe I don't do comfort color 1717. Maybe I do comfort color 6014 and we do like a long sleeve size guide or something of that nature. So this just allows me to take a little bit less, not even a little, a lot of bit less time to make data-driven decisions and or at least data-driven favorites. So another thing that I really like is this guy right here. You can literally, when you find something you like, you can just click this little thing and it will add it immediately to your favorites so that you can continue doing the research before from there. So that's one little feature that I think is really huge. And then if we go into click on it itself, we go to the listing details. So you'll see this is kind of like going over there to what we're looking at. And then we also have now what's called the daily trends. So this is something that is brand new as of February 17th. So just about 2 weeks ago when we launched this. And then I'm really excited about this. It's probably like one of the best things that they've done in a while. So I'm actually obsessed with this feature. And the product dev team is also working right now, which should be live like today or tomorrow, actually. So don't quote me, but it should be like within the next 24 to 48 hours. This is going to be expanded even more. So we're going to be able to see what's actually doing well per sales volume and for revenue for each individual listing. So that's something literally brand new 2 weeks ago that I'm absolutely obsessed with, that works really well in tandem with this high level overview as well. Oh, you're on mute. You're Angel, you're on mute. There we go.
Sorry, I unmuted. My kid was yelling for me. I have a 2-year-old who's napping, and he's like, "Mom." I'm like, "No,
come over
here." Work mom life. It's got many fun challenges.
I love it.
But what I love about those metrics that you were showing there is conversion rate and then listing age. So conversion rate, for those of you who may not know, are basically that's the rate of people clicking on your listing and purchasing. Okay. Mm-hmm. And anything over 3% is considered to be high. And so you're going to want to pay attention to anything over 3%. And then anything that's really 12 months or less, like especially in the last 2 to 3 months, if it's ranking and it has a high conversion rate and it's only, been listed a few months, something to definitely have on your radar, because that's, you're really reverse engineering a very, high search, possibly low competition search traffic. Right. So definitely, something that you don't want to overlook. Mm-hmm. Now share with us some of your favorite features. Let me add you back to stage here. What are some of your favorite features that people often overlook with this Chrome extension?
So the one I said a second ago about the favoriting thing is super big. It's so small. Yeah. It's quite literally like that small, but also it just feels small in someone's mind sometimes. Mm-hmm. But for me and you, like, I know that we've talked about like our kind of struggles with like ADHD and organization. Mm-hmm. That one little feature saves my butt every single time because I don't have the mental capacity to consume all of this information. Mm-hmm. Then I don't know if it's just me, it might be just me, but like to consume all of the information in the research stage and then automatically go and make decisions and then automatically go and design. I am a very like piecemeal type of person as it relates to the process of really like choosing this and creating. So it's really easy for me to just scroll through this list and be like, okay, 5 months versus 25 months. And this is, there's nothing there. So maybe that's not really what I want to move forward with. And then, this guy's 3 months at a 3% conversion rate, which is awesome. So let me go ahead and just add this so that I can come back to it in the future. So I just really think that is something that might be slept on a little bit.
Can you show us where the favorites, like after you start that, where is it at? Like, how do we find that?
Very good point. So over here on the left-hand side, it's just right here, click favorites. Okay. And then there's basically a couple of different things that you can do. So these are all of the ones that I've added over the past couple of days, for example, just random research I was doing. But then you can also split them into individual buckets. So let's say, for example, like the mama shirts. If I wanted to put like Mother's Day, then that could be a bucket or like a folder that I can actually add things into. And then what's cool is you have the ability in here to see, actually, let me make this a little bit bigger. You have the ability to see all of these things for the things that you favorited. So I can filter by price, I can filter by monthly revenue, and then get an even more kind of drilled down list of things. I could even add more filters if I wanted to. And then I can also click tag analytics, which is it's not a new feature. We had it basically for the past year and a half, 2 years or longer, but it's in a different location now, which is a little bit more, in my opinion, user-friendly, where it's just right here where you're already at. And then it allows you to see all of the different tags or long tail key phrases or whatever that people are utilizing in the favorites that I added. So I think that's kind of a thing that people aren't really utilizing potentially all that well either, is the tag analytics, because basically it's just all of the tags that the things that, like the 84 listings that I have currently in my favorites right now, which is kind of cool. So
well,
I love
that.
that. Wanted to make sure that we showed you how to find those. And then another thing that I really like that's new is, let me see if I can make this a little bigger, or not new, but more so just something that I think like not a lot of people are doing. You mentioned a second ago, listing age. And I think that is probably one of my favorite filters to go by. Okay. So let's just say, we're in the product analytics dashboard. So over here on the left-hand side, you'll click on this and then you can type it whenever you want. In this case, I did mama shirt. And then usually there's two different choices. So at the very top, you can do the 61 listings, which basically just means the first page of the Etsy search that you did. Or I obviously like to go to EverBee's database, because that's looking at every single thing that's on Etsy that is attributed to whatever your keyword or key phrase was. So right now we are currently researching over 774,000 listings. I don't know about you guys, but I don't have the freaking time in the world to do that. So I like to make my life a little bit easier by clicking on this little filter button right here. And I want to have the maximum be whatever I want it to be based on what I'm looking up. So right now, for example, I am looking up things for Mother's Day because it's March and Mother's Day is in May. So we are perfectly within that 60 to 90 day range of getting things live like we should have, being very proactive sellers and proactive researchers. So since I'm doing that, I know that Mother's Day was not a year ago. It was actually however many months ago. So let's say, what is that, 8 months or something? I can't do, not 12 minus 3. So let's say 9 months. There we go. So we know that the last Mother's Day was 9 months ago. So if we wanted to do that, we could. However, like I mentioned a second ago, we want to be thinking proactively about 60 to 90 days beforehand. So I want to look all the way back to last March. So I want to put that maximum listing age of people that might have, put these things out there in March and then got those sales for those 60 days. So that's personally what I like to do there. And then I also like to do something that I don't think a lot of people do. Maybe you do, but you can see we're still really high. So we were at like 700,000. We're still at 400,000, which is also, by the way, I don't want to not share my screen. I'll keep it up, but I want to make it a little smaller because I want to look at the camera and tell you guys this. The fact that there are 424,000 listings in the past 12 months means you can start on Etsy today. Everyone's like, is it too saturated? Is it too late to get on Etsy? No, obviously, because that many listings have been on there. And then what we can do is go even further and say, okay, I want the minimum monthly sales, because 424,000 might be 400,000 of them made $0, right? So we want to be very in tune with that and understand that the data tells a story, numbers tell a story. So let's say we want the minimum to be 50 monthly average sales. So now we are down to 186 listings that are more filtered out, that we can actually start going through and figuring out which ones maybe we want to get into. Maybe we want to figure out if there's a gap in the market, whatever it is. And then my final thing I want to hit on, which I could go for freaking hours on the product analytics dashboard, just because there's so many pieces to it. But I think, we're focusing on my favorites and what's really natural to me that I don't think is natural to everybody else. And then something that might be hidden or slept on is also this guy right here. So this is something that will make your search even better, because you can basically say, I do not want to include anything that has the word Disney on it, because unfortunately there are a lot of those. Or you want to maybe include grandma focused things, or you maybe want to include Halloween focused things, whatever it is. So let's just say for shiggles today, I just type in Halloween because it's my favorite holiday. Probably.
So it really allows you to target your audience or target a niche.
Yep. So we're at 186 right now with those two things. So listing age of maximum of 12, monthly sales 50. So now I have got us down to 2, which obviously I'd probably move my filters a little bit just so it was a little bit more broad. But in this case, there were 2 things that sold at least 50 times on an average monthly basis. So as you can see, total sales are 315, 372. They are no more than 12 months old, and they are in the like mama space. This says anti-bestie, but I'm sure there's also like a mama and me in the Halloween space as well. But I think like what this person did, for example, is probably the exact same research that I just did, and then realized that this concept was doing really well. And then they just went to the auntie space instead of the mommy and me space, you know? So anyways, that's another thing that I really, really love, is being able to include or exclude and then really get driven down a perfect list that you can really do like very, very intentional research on.
No, I love that. I love that tip. Another thing that I think that people don't utilize enough, and by the way, once again, if you want to follow along with us, there is a link for EverBee. If you want to try it completely for free, it's set up that basically the way I started using EverBee is I just tried the free version. You get like, I think 10 searches a month, totally free, no strings attached. And then if you find value in it, which I did, then you can decide, you know, you want to purchase a monthly plan or something. I tried it completely for free, and I didn't purchase it until I found value in it. So feel free to, if you want to follow along, there is a link in the description, or just comment EverBee below. I think you guys might have seen the banners, and we'll get you that link so that you can try it for free as well. And what the two things that I think are most utilized, I'm going to say the best one for last, and then we're going to jump into spring trends, is the email marketing piece. It does this incredible automated email marketing feature where basically it will automate creating an email list for you, and then it will automate your marketing emails for you. A lot of people, I'd say one of the biggest mistakes that Etsy sellers make, and I have seen some big shops, you know, I was just on a shop yesterday, really analyzing it. And I was just like, man, these people are so successful. If they would take the time to build an audience, they would even skyrocket their sales even more, because they were leaving so many like spaces that could be places for a call to action in their shop, and it wasn't there, like in their announcement shop piece. It was just like, you know, a very generic message, no call to action. And that's a place where you could put, you know, join my email list for 10% off. They didn't have anything in their banner about it. They didn't have anything in their thumbnails, as well as, you know, an automated list. And email marketing is not dead. Like a lot of sales are generated through email marketing because they're warm leads. And when you shoot out an email to your audience, it lets Etsy know, because even if it's just, you get a few clicks, okay, you're sending traffic to that listing, which is signaling to Etsy, we should push this listing. We should push this listing. Don't sleep on that, guys. Okay, so it has that amazing feature that where you can automate, you know, email marketing within Etsy's guidelines. And I have a video on my channel. I'll try to remember to link that below for you guys, where I walk you through how to do that. And then the second one, which is so valuable, I wish I had time today to show you guys exactly how it works. But basically, EverBee has this feature where it allows you to analyze any shop. Okay, and so to do this, I think you have to go on the left side of the menu, or you have to go on the actual website.
Yeah, I think you have to go. I have it up right now, actually, so I can show you really fast if you want to share the screen again. So it's just right here on the left, the shop analyzer, and then you can go ahead and take it from here.
Yes. And so you can go into and pick a shop, and I recommend choosing a shop that's in your niche, that has only been open a few years. Okay, so you want to kind of look at that shop age, that has 20,000 or more sales, because that is a hugely successful shop that is really going to allow you to reverse engineer the search traffic for that niche on Etsy. Okay, that shop is really doing something right, and they're really tuned into trends and probably to market gaps. Okay. And then you can, in EverBee, you can actually analyze the entire shop, and it will let you download. Once again, you might have to go onto the actual EverBee website to do this, or you might be able to do it here.
Yeah, you can do it right here on the Chrome extension.
Perfect. And it will let you download their entire shop. Okay. And then it will send you a Google Doc, okay, a spreadsheet. And you get to see, and you can sort it by sales. You can see what their top sellers are, because every shop has the listings that are like their bread and butter, where like 80% of their listings don't sell that much, and then 20% or sometimes even 10% or less is really driving most of their sales. And you're able to quickly reverse engineer that search traffic and like the demand. Okay, it is not to copy. Okay. It is never to copy. You're not going to get anywhere except banned if you copy someone on Etsy. It's just to see like, what about that listing? What about this niche is really taking off? Is it high search, low competition? Is it the mockups they're using? Is it the pricing strategy? You would want to go and like really study those top listings and see like, what is driving these sales? And then how can I take this into a new niche? How can I take this? How can I add value to this? And you can create a curated high demand list just by doing that, by going to some of those top shops. Once again, look for shops that are in your niche, in your product category, that are catered to your unique audiences, and analyze those shops and figure out, where is the search traffic? What are people actually buying in this niche? And it can be a really powerful tool for you.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because that was actually, I didn't think about mentioning it on this podcast episode today, but that shop analyzer is something we had way back in the day. And I don't want to say got rid of it, but it was like not prioritized compared to like the EverBee research tool, the keyword research tool, product analytics, etc. And then we just brought that back in November, and then it's even more robust now. So I just showed people a little bit on the screen how that you can kind of like play around with each of them, filter things just like you would the same way we did it earlier. And then as it relates to email marketing, I'm glad you brought that up, because another thing that was just introduced, I want to say August or September of last year, is we have now automated sequences. So it used to be where you would basically create a sequence, in EverBee email, by basically being like, I want to send this email on this day to these people, or I want to send,
sequence. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So we would be like weekly product drops on Mondays or something like that. Right now, however, we have the ability to do an actual like full blown workflow sequence. So you basically say like, what is the trigger? The trigger is they get added to your email list. So they subscribe. And then what happens? Within 24 hours, they get email 1. And then within 72 hours, they get email 2. And then what happens if they click on something? Then you start a new sequence and you start giving those. So it's like even more dialed in on being able to like really, like what we talked about earlier with the product analytics, like really hone in on the person and target them for what they came to your shop for in the first place. So I love this, because it used to be something that you just would just like send an email once or twice here or there, or weekly, whatever it is. And then that actually hurt. I could be wrong here, but I believe that it hurt general stores, because it was really hard for them to like do new product drops. If someone bought a mama shirt last week and then you just added like a dog phone case, like they're like, why are you sending me this? So now with the automated sequences, you can actually drill down on different, like so many different levels of people, and then really target them with kind of what they bought. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that is one of the benefits to having either like a product niche shop or an audience niche shop, is that it does make marketing easier.
Right. For sure.
Because it's a little trickier when you have a general store, when you're a ton of different niches. But if you're a product, like if you're a very product niche, like you just sell stickers or you just sell mugs, like it's fine to do a general email. Or if you have a specific audience, you know what I mean? But of course, there's lots of benefits to having a general store as well. Okay, so really quickly, what are your favorite finds, like trend finds? And it doesn't have to necessarily be like super recent, but just like, what is like your like biggest find you ever found on using EverBee, where you're just like, or like maybe surprising, like what's some crazy niches that you found that like you wouldn't have discovered without using EverBee?
I just recently, literally, I'm not kidding, 2 days ago, found this thing that I was saving it for this, because I wanted to make sure that like your people got the first dibs at it. It's very unsaturated, but it is I think it's going to blow up, because it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. And I almost wanted to buy it like immediately. And it's such a funny term, and it could be done in so many different ways. So before I get into it, you guys have probably seen, if you've been on Etsy like at all over the past year, there's been a lot of like, hold on partner, I'm overstimulated. And it's like a cowboy frog or whatever.
My bestie was just, we talk all the time on Marco Polo. She was just wearing that sweatshirt yesterday. She's like a big Etsy shopper. I'm like, you totally got that from Etsy.
No, dude, I can literally walk around Target and see people. And I'm like, I know you got that from Etsy or whatever. It's like mom, mommy, bro, like all of those. I see those all the time. So anyways, that kind of stuff, like hold on partner, I'm overstimulated. And then there's like the trash panda one or whatever that's like everything is fine or the whatever. It's just so funny. So the one that I saw while I was in that space, because the world's on fire half the time right now, and we all just kind of want to laugh sometimes. So getting into kind of like the mental health space, the stress awareness space, but kind of with a little bit of self-deprecation and humor, like maybe even dark humor a little bit, is working really well. So I found this thing called dilly dally. And I thought it was the funniest word I've ever seen.
Yes.
But there are active, like 2,000 plus people looking up the term dilly dally right now.
Okay.
And then people are utilizing that and putting it on. I think the one that I saw was like a little bear, and it says "Born to dilly dally, forced to work." And I was like, I have to buy this. Like, it was so funny. So that one was one that I absolutely loved. It's on the rise right now. So it's a really, really good to jump in immediately. Another one that I saw back in November that's still doing significantly well is Coastal Cowboy. So last year around this time, maybe a little bit earlier, Rhinestone Cowboy was doing really well. So, like bachelorette parties were doing like hot pinks, disco balls, and then there was like cowboy hats, cowboy boots, etc. Right. So this transition kind of happened a little while ago where Coastal Grandma, which I thought was kind of weird, but I found that. So Coastal Grandma, so that's like your teals, your nautical, your anchors, your Nantucket, the Hamptons, like kind of that kind of vibe. So coastally, but now it's going into Coastal Cowboy. So I think that one's really, really going to pop off soon. And I told, my people on EverBee YouTube about it a couple months ago, because I know Rhinestone Cowboy did so well. And it's basically the exact same space. It's just blue now. So instead of pink, it's blue, but it's like the exact same thing.
Blue is super hot right now on
exactly.
Etsy.
Yeah. And that's the perfect segue into my third one. I do not, for the life of me, I was trying to look it up before this call. I do not for the life of me remember what it's called, but it is, can I share my screen real fast again?
Sure, absolutely.
Because I don't know the name of it, but I want to make sure that I can show you guys. It is, let's see. Here we go. It's this aesthetic. So Copenhagen, what is it?
Oh, okay. There's one I'm going to show you guys that's very similar.
Good. So one of my girlfriends that's in the Etsy space, you know Kate Robb?
Yes. That sounds familiar.
So one of my girlfriends, so she posted a video about a month or so ago predicting that this like porcelain ceramic kind of look, and it could be on a t-shirt, it doesn't have to be porcelain, but it's like that old school, you think that you would see this at your grandma's house, like the white with the royal blue China, like the fine China kind of look, is doing so well right now. And I saw her thing and I was like, oh, I'm interested in looking into that. And I saw that a couple people were looking it up on Etsy about a month and a half ago, but then I started seeing it literally everywhere in Target, in Joann's, in Michael's, etc. So I know it's going to pop off on Etsy any day now.
Absolutely. And then here, I want to show you guys the fabric version of this.
Yep.
So it's this one right here. So like she said, that porcelain, it's called shoot.
Yeah,
I looked it up. It's
idea.
spelled Toile. I can't remember. I'll look it up while you're talking later. And there's a couple of different terms. One starts with a CH. I'll look it up when I get the chance. I forget what it's called.
Yeah.
But it's totally that porcelain look. And with that blue jean, the specific mock-up is like fire. The folded mock-up with this trend. I think it's going to be huge for Easter. It's going to be huge for Mother's Day. It's going to be big. So this pattern aesthetic is on fire. Completely agree.
And I would say if you're in the print on demand space, don't just go that direction of popping a t-shirt, like totally do that if you want to. But I'm seeing this in my brain. I'm seeing it popping off on tote bags. I'm seeing it popping off on weekender bags, on cell phone cases, on what was another one that I was thinking of? Like dresses. So like POD all over print dresses, like for summer, those are going to be huge for that. I'm going to buy it like for that aesthetic.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Here's an Easter example of that right here.
Perfect.
With blue, on that blue color once again, but the sweatshirt version.
Yep. So those are the three that I'm like really, really leaning towards. And then obviously that You Are Enough, like going back to my concept, the overstimulated, like all of those different things are just doing so
mental
well
health
this year because, mental health is like kind of difficult for all of us right now. So if we can have something on us that makes us feel good, that makes us feel seen, or that maybe makes us find our tribe, because sometimes that's really what apparel does. So like if I
Mm-hmm.
saw someone, for example, wearing like Easy Tiger, like I'd
Mm-hmm.
be like, I feel like I would get along with that chick, you know, because it's like something
Yeah.
I would say, you know.
Uh-huh.
So it's also allows that kind of like right now we don't really have a lot of community, unfortunately, in the world. There's not a
Mm-hmm.
lot of equality right now. So if
Mm-hmm.
we can find someone that's wearing some, there it is, dilly dallying. Sorry,
Yep.
I'm late. I was dilly dallying. The
Yep.
goat, the lamb. There it is. That's exactly what I was just talking about. You know, rage consumes me and it's like a funny cat, you know? So if I see
Mm-hmm.
someone wearing that, I'm gonna be like, I feel like I should communicate with her because we're gonna
Yeah.
get along.
Yeah,
So I just
absolutely.
think that like seeing those kinds of things are maybe something that you guys should maybe think about and be like, how do people find their tribe through clothing or through
Mm-hmm.
journals or through the stickers that they put on their laptops while they're at the
Mm-hmm.
library? And that's what I
Yep.
think you guys should make.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Leslie, for joining us today. I have a couple of quick questions to share with you.
Yeah,
This
hit
is
me.
the Spill the Beans segment. All right. So, what is one of the craziest side hustles you've tried?
Oh God, this is gonna be embarrassing. Um, so I was an ads. Please don't fire me, Cody. I was an ads manager for a diabetic re like strip reseller. So like I don't even know how to like say this out loud, but like someone would literally like go buy like diabetic strips somewhere and then like
Okay.
resell them. It lasted about 3 weeks, and I am very proud that it didn't last longer. That's all I got to say.
I've never even thought about it. That's
Everyone
interesting.
needs ads. I don't know what to tell you.
Yes, yes. Okay, so shiny object syndrome. We talked earlier about the danger of being in e-commerce and selling online because there's so many different ways you can make money online.
Yeah.
If you had the time, what's a new side hustle you would try right now?
That's a good question. I've done all of them, so it's like really hard to pinpoint what I would really do.
Or which
But I mean,
one,
to
if
be
you had
honest,
time,
I
would you like double down on?
right. I would put so much effort into YouTube. So I
Mm-hmm.
already do that for EverBee.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, like we go live once a week. I have obviously interviews with you guys all the time, and I post a video every Tuesday. But because of that, it's made it a little bit difficult for me to do it on my own channel.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just like that would be like if I had all the time in the world,
Mm-hmm.
that's where I would really focus because I really think that's where brands are being built currently.
Mm-hmm. Is on YouTube.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Completely agree. If I had time, you know what I would do is I would use AI to create a kids channel. Because like
Yes.
my kids love YouTube videos,
Yes.
like the exercise videos and like,
Really.
I don't know, they
Did
just
you
like, they
see,
enjoy.
Miss Rachel, like, was like
Yes.
17 million or something last year?
But
I was
AI
like, I can
version.
find a way. I can
There's
figure it out.
yeah, especially with AI. I think if I had time, I would like do a kids channel. I think that would be fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I completely agree. And people feel like they need to like look a certain way or like be really good at YouTube or be a good content creator or have like this perfect like studio. No, you know that whole concept right now. I think it's Mel Robbins is pushing it. You know, let them. You know,
Exactly.
don't worry about what anyone thinks because no one cares that much. Like as far as like I am not the perfect YouTuber. I am not the perfect podcaster. I stutter. I talk too fast. I am painfully aware of the reasons why. Like, is there someone else who should be doing this? But it's like, who cares? I enjoy it. People are getting value from it. I get amazing comments every day from people saying, you know, you helped me. And I just don't worry about it.
Love it.
So don't feel like, you know, one, it's oversaturated, or two, you're not ready. Never let like not being ready or the perfect time ever stop you from doing anything because there is no perfect time. You're never really ready. Jump in, get messy. No one's making it out alive. So have fun.
Literally. No one knows what they're doing. That's something that I will say that I found. That's probably if you were starting all over today almost, because I have found being in this industry for 3.5 years now, almost 4 years, that no one knows what's going on. And even the people that you think are like they got their stuff together, we don't. So I think that's kind of interesting that, you know, just if you think that we do, we don't, and don't let that stop you because you could probably teach us something, whoever the us is.
Absolutely. And even if you are an Etsy seller and you're watching this, you'd be like, well, why would someone want to watch my content? Like people want to journey with you. Like, so what if you have no sales or 5 sales? Like people want to go on a journey with you. And they want to learn from you and they want to be part of your milestones. You know, just share it with the world and your people will find you. So
That's
Completely
actually,
agree.
I didn't really talk about that at all at the beginning, but that's actually how my business was built.
Mhm,
Because I was on Upwork at the beginning and I was just doing a bunch of cool stuff. And then I
mhm,
made like 50 grand in a couple of weeks. And I
mhm,
went on TikTok to be like, y'all got to go on Upwork. This is
mhm,
amazing. You got to check this
mhm.
out. And it was really just like taking them along the journey with me. Like I had started on
Mhm.
Upwork like a couple months prior. I left my
Right.
job 1 month prior to me getting on TikTok. So it wasn't like I had been doing this for years. It wasn't
Mhm,
like I had anything figured out whatsoever. I was
mhm.
really just being like, I learned this new feature today and here's something that might be beneficial to you guys. And now I run an entire like consulting agency for it. So definitely worth
Amazing.
it.
Love that. All right. So, how do you use AI in your business workflow? Whether it's content creation, whether it's for Etsy, like how do you use it?
Yeah, man, we talked a lot about this on the episode that you and I did together for Everbee that I
Which
use AI.
I'll link that episode
Yeah.
below.
Yeah,
Mhm,
that was such a good conversation. I was so grateful. Oh
mhm,
shoot, sorry. That was loud. I just hit my mic. I get passionate. But yeah, I was just so grateful for all the different like nuggets, knowledge nuggets, I call them, that we
mhm,
dropped in that one. And I think there's definitely a lot in this one too. So the thing that I mostly use AI for is everything. It's the baseline. Like even I'm not even kidding. As small as like what are my personal goals for this month, and like I
mhm,
call him he. If you don't
mhm,
know me, ChatGPT is Charles in my book, so like we have a relationship and we talk every day. So Charles like made my March bingo card for my personal health
mhm,
goals, so just stuff like
mhm,
that. But in my business I really use him for research and kind of confirming or denying
mhm,
my research. So I'm like, hey, I want to get into the dog space or the pet space, but I don't want to just do dogs. Like I actually
mhm,
built a brand the other day because I was doing something for Everbee, ironically, and I was like, I want to get into the pet space, but I want to think about something that someone is lacking, and I know that cats and dogs is not lacking. What else could I possibly do? And then he just gave me like 25 different things. So I actually made this brand from the
mhm,
ground up. I'm not doing anything with it, so if you guys want to take it, that's fine. But I just was trying to come up with a brand idea. So it was like wild and whiskered, and so it's
okay.
like building apparel for your exotic pets. So like
Oh,
your
okay.
Hawaiian shirts for your bearded dragon, or like
Mhm,
sombreros for your gecko, like just weird things
mhm,
like that. And I would have never thought of that had I not, asked AI. So I definitely use that to like research and or confirm my research. I also use it for image generation sometimes. So, for example, in that brand that I was just referring to, I needed to create lifelike images because I ain't got a bearded dragon and I don't have a Hawaiian shirt for a bearded dragon. So I had to make lifestyle mock ups for that thing. So like being able to just ask Charles and be like, hey, I need a lifelike version of a bearded dragon wearing a Hawaiian shirt. Can you make that happen? Sure enough, he did really quickly. So it was a lot easier to make mock-ups for something like that. And then kind of the last thing that I use AI for is just words when I want to talk to a certain someone that I don't know. Or maybe I'm not as like keen on what their likes or dislikes or their pains, their struggles, their hardships, whatever might be. And if you don't know those things about your person that you're selling to, you will not be able to sell to them, nor will you be able to connect with them. So sometimes if I'm trying to get into a space like the bearded dragon space, I think it's cool, but I know nothing about it. So I go and use AI to figure out what is that person? Like, who are they? What do they
mhm.
struggle with? What are their
What
hopes
are the
and
pain
dreams for their
points?
bearded dragon,
Mhm,
whatever. Yeah. So I build
mhm,
this customer avatar and then my messaging is very, very easy to create. So that's like kind
mhm.
of the third main reason I kind of use it.
Okay, cool. All right, so last question here. If you were starting all over today, what would you do
Yeah, the
to make
biggest
money
thing
online?
would, right. So the biggest thing would be kind of like what I said a second ago. I just would be like, don't wait until you're ready.
Mhm,
So I actually worked in my 9 to 5 job for, 10 to 11 years. But I actually was doing side freelancing. I was doing freelancing on the side for 18 months and I didn't tell anybody except for my husband and my mom.
mhm,
And I missed out when I did the math after I left my job. When I did the math on what that was, it was over 100 grand just because I didn't tell anybody about it and I didn't take anybody on the journey with me. And I stayed, I don't want to say stuck in my 9 to 5 at all. I loved my job that I was in.
mhm.
But I did stay scared that I needed something stable. I needed something secure. I couldn't do it on my own, blah, blah, blah. So that was like a nope, you can. So when I did, I realized that I lost down over $100,000 because of it, give or take, of what it would have looked like. So I would just say, like, if I could start over today, I would start. I know that sounds
Just get
cliche, but
just get started. Yes.
yeah.
No, I love that advice because it's so important. I think a lot of people get hung up on like they have to find the perfect niche, they have to find the perfect product. They think that they need to launch like an entire store for their Etsy shop, and it's like no, you can get started with one product, one idea today. It doesn't. You don't have to have the perfect niche, the perfect product. Just get started because your first 100 listings and your first 6 months even on Etsy really is just a learning process. Don't worry too much about like I need to make so much profit. You're just learning. It's learning a new skill, and there's a lot of different hats that you have to wear and you have to learn. And you just get that muscle memory and you get faster at everything. So I love that advice. Okay, really quickly, your number one piece of advice to really get someone to move the needle in their business. So like if you're a business owner, regardless of what the business is, what is your number one piece of advice for them to move the needle in their business right now?
So I think it's going to be a combo of two things actually, but the number one is going back to what I said a second ago, knowing your customer like the back of your hand. So you should be able to write an email to them on the spur of the moment. You should know exactly how to communicate with them that would turn that either into a conversion and or a piece of like value relatability with that person. You should be able to get a reel live on Instagram within seconds, simply because like their lingo, their ABCs like the back of your hand. And that's going to make everything easier for literally the rest of your business, because it's not just understanding them, but it's knowing exactly what products you need to source for them. It's knowing exactly how to move from physical to digital products because you know that person and you know what the digital product is going to do for them. And then it's making ads one day when you're ready to invest in that, and you know exactly what ad copy and exactly what ad creative is going to work with them, etc. So it's going to literally change your entire business if you just know your customer like the back of your hand. And then I also would say, it's kind of counterintuitive, I guess, from what we were saying a second ago, or maybe a little backwards, but like don't fall for shiny object syndrome per se, but also don't stay stuck in one location. I personally like to have like an omni-channel approach to my business. So like, for example, like EverBee has a YouTube channel. We have a Facebook group. We have the ad strategy, whatever it is, right? So if you just stay on Etsy, you're only going to receive what Etsy provides you in income. But if you can send traffic to Etsy because you're in the driver's seat, that's that much more income that you're going to get, plus what Etsy gives you. If you can then maybe make a Shopify store where you are doing that, that's the third piece of it. And then if you can get on social media and you can sell, that's the fourth piece of it, etc. So not to overwhelm anybody, because I know how it could get a little hectic, especially if you're at a 9-to-5, especially if you have a family. Make all of those things first priority. Make yourself and your family first priority, hands down. But if you have the ability to get something, nail it down for 6 to 12 months, and then move on to the next thing, that will perpetuate the first thing. I think that is something that I wish someone would have told me in the beginning.
I love all those tips. That's incredible. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Really quickly, everyone, I want Leslie to share with us, where can we find you? Obviously with the EverBee YouTube channel, which I'll link below.
Sure.
Where else can we find you?
Yeah, so actually my business name is Evolution Designs, and you can see it right there on the screen. So you'll see it spelled a little weird, so make sure you write that down correctly, because I decided to build a business that would be always evolving, because I knew digital marketing would always be evolving, but I also really focus on female entrepreneurs. So that's why you'll see she in my business. So look up Evolution Designs, Evolution Freelancing, etc. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, like all the above. But I really focus over there on how to help you guys become content creators like I am. So
awesome. Alrighty, everyone. By the way, we are now with the Wednesday Grind podcast is now available on Spotify and podcast. And I'm sorry, on Apple Podcast. And I'm not sure why this isn't showing. There's supposed to be an image here. But anyways, there's the latest episode with Trent. Technically Trent. We talked about all about AI trends in 2025. Don't miss that one. Otherwise, we'll see you guys next week at 1 p.m. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks, Leslie, for joining us.
yeah, thanks for having me. Bye, guys.